welcome to today's webinar. We will take a look at obviously the 7 of the biggest recruitment challenges and how to overcome them. So as you might all know, but we never know, this webinar is hosted by Skilled. For those who don't know us, Skilled is an advanced software as a service software helping company digitalize and automate some of the recruitment processes. We have in a mission to bring all the best practices of recruitment in one simple to use software. It's extremely important. I mean, most organizations there tend to have difficulties finding the best applicant tracking system, finding the best pre-employment test, finding the best video interviews. It's Skilled. The beauty of Skilled is we bring everything under one roof and a very easy to use software. So that's our mission, and also bring technology to better to help recruitment teams hire the best people faster, and making sure that they make the most qualitative hires. So obviously before not only beside this, Skilled also offers various set of recruitment tools, which can be branded career pages, employee referral, software branding. It's extremely important, and we will talk about this. But the more you're branding your image towards your candidates, the more attractive you become. But obviously now with our new version coming end of March, we will have also sourcing tool, a talent pool, which is extremely powerful in a sense where our algorithms that we have built will be able to, when you create the job description, automatically make recommendations of the most qualitative applicant for this job. So we really want to be more proactive in this approach of finding the best candidates. But obviously something that is also extremely important is this enhanced multi-posting tool, where you will not only be able to publish the job onto all the different job boards, but also buy the credit straight away on Skilled and publish it without having to go to the provider itself. We know it can be a bit painful, and also allowing you to go and post on social media. I see the time is running. I tend to speak a lot, so I'll try to be as concise as possible. For those who don't know me, my name is Nicholas. I'm one of the co-founders, Skilled, and managing partner. So I will be your moderator for today. This is quite usual. They always put me in this position. Our lovely marketing team, doing a great job, by the way. And today with me, I have Josephine, which is our marketing specialist at Skilled, and we will be presenting you the topic of today. So, first thing first, very important. As you can see, this webinar is recorded. The attendee registrant will receive the recording afterward. The question also can be asked, and this is very important. I mean, this is a webinar that is not in just us delivering the content and you just listening. Try to collaborate as much as possible. If you have questions, we're prepared for them, hopefully, and we will be trying to deliver the best possible answer to you. And obviously, we are active on social media, so use the hashtag Skilled webinar on social media as much as possible. This is something that for us is always good. It's publicity. So just a bit of an intro before we start. Today's recruiters are facing a new set of challenges caused by a variety of factors. And there's the pressure of keeping up with fast evolving technology and very fast changing technologies, but also in some nation of aging populations. It's a trend that recruiters and businesses have to contend with, but not only to mention the several underlying factors in the social and economic landscape. So, for example, it's also something that is quite important. It's quite common for millennials to jump a ship and start looking for new jobs. The millennials have obviously changed a bit how people have to look at jobs, and this often happens within 3 years. So it's or less, which is quite fast. of their employment, and then the employment rate. But also something that is very important is the unemployment rate in the EU have dropped to a record low. So it's making it a very huge challenge for recruiters to find the best candidates. Good. So altogether, I mean, those difficulties with the spell to companies, and pushes the companies to revisit their recruitment practices. This is good also because, we are an ever-changing world, and, this is something that companies need to adapt from time to time. And with this in mind, I mean, today we will be discussing those 7 problems faced by recruiters, as well as the possible solution for each of them. So, Joséphine, tell us everything, all the knowledge you know about those 7 topics.
I will. Thank you,
Very
Nico.
good. You're welcome.
Hi, everybody. Now, as Nico has already addressed, talent acquisition and recruiting have become so much more complex. That's why we wanted to identify the major challenges that HR professionals are facing nowadays. So we did some research. We spoke to our clients, we spoke to recruiters, but also to some industry experts. Now, it's true that your challenges might vary depending on the size of company that you work in or on the types of roles that you're hiring. But what we have found is that recruiters would gravitate around 7 main challenges that we will be discussing today. So I will be starting by pointing them out, as well as providing some useful tips to address each one of them. And at the very end of this session, I will also mention 4 common methods actually to address these challenges that we will be discussing today.
Sounds great.
All right, so let's start. So the first challenge that we see is actually the fact that attracting the right candidates is really something that recruiters are struggling with. In fact, attracting top quality candidates is one of the biggest challenges today. And according to a study that Glasser did, they found out that 76% of hiring managers admit that attracting the right job candidates is actually their greatest challenge. Now, as you mentioned, Nico, in this area of low unemployment rate, coupled with an ever-changing needs of the job markets, talented candidates are the real kings nowadays out there, and the ultimate power rests in their hands. They are oftentimes approached by multiple recruiters, and it becomes therefore really, really difficult for recruiters to attract these talented candidates. Now, at the same time, recruiters are very often wasting their precious time by going through tons of applications from candidates that are not even a good fit for their positions. So what is really important here is that you write effective job posts. If you really want to ensure that you're attracting the right candidates, it's really crucial to put a lot of care upfront, meaning in the first few steps of the process. So really start by stating clear and precise requirements in your job descriptions, but also in your job advertisements. Like this, you will have less chance to attract people who don't even come close to the position's needs. And besides, you can ask a qualifying question, meaning, for example, if you're looking for somebody that has a driving license, then just simply include a yes or no question that candidates can answer. So this is really a fast way to screen out people who aren't the right fit for the role. Second point is to keep your job advertisements concise, so short. Meaning that while you might be tempted to list out every requirement you envision for your ideal hire, including too many of these qualifications and skills can actually discourage potential candidates from applying. And finally, make sure that you write compelling job ads. Now, for this, it's actually really important that you think like a marketeer. and see job postings actually as marketing material. Posting a simple job description nowadays that's only outlines the job duties is really not longer enough
for sure.
to compel candidates nowadays, as we've also seen. Job postings are still at the front line of these talents wars that we're currently in, and they really need to sell your employer brand, and therefore they need to be appealing. So what has Coca-Cola to do with this? Now, Coca-Cola is actually a great example, as a significant part of their success is its emphasis on brand over product. Now, Coca-Cola isn't simply selling a drink in a bottle, nor are they advertising on the ingredients that you see on the slide. No, Coca-Cola is actually selling happiness in a bottle. And the same counts actually for your job ads. So you really need to sell the job. You need to sell your employee value proposition. And that's really important when writing these, to keep this in mind when you're writing job advertisements. So if I can give a tip for this challenge, it's really to think like a marketeer and to hook applicants with details about what makes your company unique. So your job description is an introduction to your company and your employee brand. So try to include details about your company culture, for example, and just sum up why a candidate would love to work for you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good that you share a bit more about this, because we really see two trends. I mean, we see also some of the more traditional recruitment teams that tend to really like write the description, and it's very precise into the details, but it's really like it's not very marketing-ish. And you see really like this other type of companies which tend to try to really improve on the text and make it attractive. And some of the things that some of our customers are doing at the moment is that including a video within the description, and it makes it very attractive to see such innovative companies showing about their culture, showing about themselves, even the recruiters. And this happens showing the recruiter himself explaining the job and why you should be applying for this job. This really makes an impact, because at the end the job is going to stay 30, 60 or 90 days online, and it's almost a quarter for the longest periods. And people have to really understand and see if they can see themselves within that job. So make it as attractive as possible.
Correct. True. Perfect. So now let's move on. Let's have a look at challenge number 2. So what we see here is that engaging qualified candidates is actually also something that recruiters are often struggling with. Now, continuous candidate engagement with both active but also passive job seekers is a key to recruiting success. Yet, what we see is that many recruiters struggle to have an effective long-term strategy in place. Candidate engagement is basically the process of continually communicating with your candidates and to get potential candidates interested in working for your company, and obviously to keep them engaged along the process or until the right job opportunity comes up. Now, as mentioned, candidates are very often contacted, and especially candidates with hard-to-find skills are often considering several job offers at the same time. So what is really important here is that you really pay attention to delivering the right message to the right candidates at the right moment. Try to engage as much as possible with both active and passive candidates through all channels. Try to really reply to their comments and messages on social media, but also try to send them engaging email campaigns or even invite them to your recruiting events if possible.
Okay, now, thank you, Josephine, for sharing this. I mean, you mentioned that it is important to engage, obviously, with active, but also passive candidates. However, a passive candidate won't be searching for a job. So what would you say is a good way, to start engaging with these candidates?
Yes.
Because that shouldn't be, it can be not be that simple. But tell us more.
I will tell you. So Actually, LinkedIn, they did a research and they found out that 70% of the global workforce is made up of passive talent. So like you mentioned, people that aren't actively looking for a job. However, there's some good news. And they also found out that most of these passive candidates, actually up to 90%, which is quite a lot, are actually interested in hearing about new job opportunities. Sure. So what I would recommend over here is to before reaching out to these passive candidates is to research what really motivates them and what makes them happy in their current job. Or in general. And with this knowledge, you can then personalize your sourcing emails to describe what you can offer instead of what they can do for your company.
Okay. So, that's interesting. But I mean, now, slow hiring has a numerous negative impact. And as you mentioned, isn't there also a risk?
Yes. So indeed, slow hiring is actually our next challenge. You're right. So this is actually something that most recruiters are struggling with. So increasing the recruitment speed is perhaps one of the hardest tasks of recruiters. And it's true. A slow hiring process puts you in a big disadvantage of the recruiting process. So moving too slow can lead you to not only miss out on top candidates, but also to lose revenue or productivity, or it can even actually damage your reputation as an employer or an organization. Yet, depending on the industry that you're in and the positions that you're hiring for, making a hire can be a long process, as we also see sometimes. And it can be quite frustrating for hiring teams, and it can put a lot of pressure on recruiters. So a long hiring process can be due to many reasons. For example, it can be a byproduct of a shortage of qualified candidates, but it can also because your hiring team is simply struggling to reach consensus within the team.
Yeah, and sometimes you can have also hiring managers. Those are the people that are, their daily job is obviously not only hiring but doing something else, and they have to make sure that they don't become the bottleneck of their own organization and not being able to move towards a more efficient recruitment process. Because you mentioned something that is very important, and sometimes we don't take into consideration enough is that slow hiring makes it unproductive within the company. So if you don't have a person sitting in the job, the company is losing huge amount of productivity, which has a cost impacted to this. And often, in the recruitment process, we don't take this metric enough into consideration. And companies, on a yearly basis, can lose, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of euros because of this. But this is not even and not enough taken into consideration. So our recommendation is obviously hire the best people faster, but do hire the best people. I mean, it's really important that you make sure that you have the best person within your organization. Otherwise, you have to start all over again.
Indeed, correct. But what is really important though is, of course, a slow hiring process is not good, but moving too quick can also be a risk. So here, it's really recommended to find a good balance between quality and speed. And this is actually very often something that we see as a related struggle. In fact, a recent analysis has revealed that HR leaders and hiring managers would only rehire 61% of their recent hires on average. Well, this number is actually quite disappointing.
Yes.
And it can potentially, of course, be very costly for organizations. Therefore, it's really, really important for companies to find the right balance between quality of hire and the time to hire, as you have mentioned before. So now to come back to the slow hiring process and to give you a tip to shorten it is really to look at your hiring process and to ask yourself several questions such as, are all the hiring process are all the hiring steps in your process really necessary? Are you looking in the right places to fill your candidate pipelines? But also, are you communicating quickly enough with your candidates, but also within your hiring team, for example? And actually, these questions can be answered by the help of your recruitment metrics, which you can very often find already within your applicant tracking system.
And also maybe set the deadlines to hiring managers. So if you write them a comment, say okay, I need the answer by, and boom, automatically get the latest date by
Exactly.
which really we need an answer. Otherwise, people tend to be quite busy, and they try to. Sometimes it can happen that they delay the process. It's not voluntary, but it's really something that is important. So be extremely sharp in the way you're keeping up with the process.
Exactly. All right. So let's have a look at our next challenge, which is about data-driven recruitment. Data-driven recruitment is really something that we see also that a lot of recruiters are struggling with. And why we love to talk about making data-driven decisions. The truth of the matter actually is that these types of analysis are very complicated and require a lot of time to really gather all these information. So besides, many HR teams very often have a tendency to get stuck with traditional recruitment methods, such as Excel spreadsheets, for example. So my tip for this challenge would be to make sure that you find ways to compile and organize your data in an efficient and streamlined way. For example, you can store your data and use your data, and you can export it with reporting systems like your own ATS, but also via Google Analytics or even via a recruitment marketing platform. Now, what's important is that you don't need to track every recruiting metric that is out there, because there are tons of them, but really try to track those that really make sense for your business. And if this is something that you're struggling with, we actually recently did a webinar around this topic. So I would really recommend you to have a look at that webinar as well, because we provided some great tips, and just have a look.
That's a very good point, Josephine. During your Christmas holidays, I'm sure everyone has a lot of time. You can go through the skilled webinar saga.
Exactly.
10 hours of plus watching webinars.
Exactly. So when you come back, you can start off quite strong.
Exactly.
All right.
Good.
So.
All right. So besides, I mean, aren't there also studies saying that organizations that invest in employer branding are 3 times more likely to make quality hires? I mean, can you fact check me on this and tell me more about it? Because
yes,
something that tend to be quite interesting and important
You're
for
right.
our community to listen to.
Yeah. Yes, employee branding is really important nowadays, and companies that are doing this right can really extremely benefit from it. Well, it's essential in this competitive and talent-driven job market because it helps you to attract and engage better candidates, especially if you're a company that is looking to hire young talent. A strong employer brand is more important than ever. For example, if you look at a study done by LinkedIn, the majority of job seekers, around 75%, is considering an employee's brand even before actually applying to a job. So like you mentioned, it is really important. So it's important to invest on this point. And what we see, coming back to your point, is that companies that have understood that it's really important to invest in employer branding, they very often now have already a so-called employer branding specialist dedicated to do this job. Yet It is still a complex process, of course, that includes anything from ensuring a positive candidate experience to promoting your brand on social media. It's really a continuous and collective effort that requires you to step out of your usual duties and to also secure buy-in from your coworkers.
Yeah, and companies tend to be so strong at doing marketing to sell what they have to sell and deliver the message they want to get out there, but they forget sometimes that the people that are doing that. There are people within the organization, and it's thanks to those people that you are able to sell. And this is the thing, you have to make sure that you invest enough efforts there to make sure that you get those best people and you make sure that your company will be more successful as well.
Correct. So now coming back to my tip list, a tip to improve this challenge or to address it is to reply to online reviews, good ones, but definitely also bad ones. But also to give your coworkers the means to tell their story about their work, what they like doing at work, for example. You mentioned it already previously for the job descriptions, but you can also ask your coworkers to create videos or blog posts, and you can share them on your career page or on your social media profiles if you aren't doing so. And of course, above all, try to be a good employer, and it will show.
Exactly.
All right. So let's have a look at our second last challenge, which is quite related to employer branding. It's about candidate experience. And although candidate experience is on the top priority list of many employers, many struggle still to deliver a positive experience. This, even though candidate experience isn't only important for employee branding, but it's also a major decision factor when your best candidates are evaluating your job offers. Now, Career Arc, they did a study on candidate experience, and they actually found that nearly 60% of job seekers have had a poor experience in the past. Okay. And what they found as well is that 63 of job seekers that had a bad experience are likely to actually reject a job offer, but also they found that 64% of the people that said that they've had a poor experience will be less likely to purchase goods or services from that company again. And finally, 72% of these people actually told others about it, either online or in person.
Okay. So in short, if I summarize this, I mean, companies that struggle to provide a positive candidate experience not only risk of losing their top candidates, their customers, money, but also their reputation. I mean, this is quite a big challenge. From my point of view.
Correct. Yes, it's really a crucial factor.
Okay.
Now coming back to that last point that you mentioned related to reputation, we see here an example of a Glassdoor review of Nike. And to be fair, Nike has really good reviews. You can see here that 73% of their reviews are quite positive. So we picked here an example, a negative example, just to emphasize on the point that people are talking and they go online and tell others about their bad experience. So you see that optimizing your candidate experience really is an essential point to work on. Now, there are obviously many factors that can help you to improve this, such as having a short online application process or making sure that you have a streamlined mobile experience. However, according to a Career Builder survey, an overwhelming of 81% of candidates say that there's actually one main thing that will greatly improve their overall experience, which is communication. So employers that continuously communicate status updates to them. Now, candidates nowadays, they really want to know where they are in the hiring process, when they want to know when they can expect an answer. So really don't try to keep them waiting around and leave them in the dark. So when it comes to this point, to improve your candidate experience, I can only say that communication is key, and really set expectations for communication. So tell your candidates when they should expect to hear from you. And if you have an ATS, try to set reminders and use email templates to follow through with that promise. And simply just don't leave them in the dark throughout the hiring process. Right. Now we actually reached our final challenge. And our final challenge is recruiting fairly. We noticed that many companies are struggling to attract and hire diverse candidates, and unconscious biases are very often the reason for this. Now, apart from your legal obligations to provide equal opportunities, hiring fairly and thus objectively is good for business, because it helps you hire the best person for the job without stereotypes interfering. So if I have a tip for this one, I would really say to try to standardize your interviewing process and implement objective hiring techniques. For example, by using structured interviews and even artificial intelligence tools that can help you to reduce human bias. And besides, really try to make sure that you ask all your candidates the same questions. That's really something that is important. And like this, you can compare them based on a set of the same criteria, and you can really choose the best candidate in the end instead of the most likable one.
Great. Well, thank you, Jovine, for all those interesting insights. So we see now that we have pointed out the common challenge in recruitment, as well as provided some tips to address them. Are there some methods to overcome the common recruitment challenges? I mean, they must be, right?
There are indeed.
Okay, tell us more.
And I will tell you more about it. So one main method that you can apply to overcome the challenges that we have been discussing is building a talent pool. As mentioned earlier, there's little evidence to suggest that the skills gap that we are facing will be resolved anytime soon. And you really can't rely on the best talent applying organically anymore. So to be successful in the long term, you have to be proactive. And the talent pool is actually a great way to do this. It's basically a database of candidates that are interested in working for your company. And it can really help you to reduce your time to hire, but also your recruiting costs, because you will already have qualified and pre-screened candidates in line when a role opens. Now, how do you build these talent pools or talent pipelines? Try to look into past hiring processes for candidates that have already advanced to the final stages, or you can decide to source new ones. You actually may already have a perfect candidate in your database, but you might not even know it. Now, past candidates that have moved on to the final stages are obviously qualified, while new ones will help you to really build a more comprehensive and diverse candidate database. So you can also actually consider to include candidates that have reached out to you spontaneously, that send you their resumes, for example. But what is important here to mention is that you really need to make sure that you follow the data protection laws when it comes to this, like, for example, the GDPR.
No CV left on the table for 5 years and remembering after that you had
exactly. That's a big no-go nowadays. Another way to create these talent pools is create a talent network and ask potential candidates to reach out to you. For example, you can include a button on your career page or on your social media post saying, join our talent network. And like this, you can reach out to to potential candidates and ask them to join your talent network. And finally, a talent pool is a great way to engage with but also with passive candidates, as we have discussed earlier. So your pipelines are really stronger if candidates know that you're considering them and if you're staying in touch. So with these talent pools, you can engage and nurture them and deliver a great experience by sending out personalized emails or newsletters or even information on a regular basis.
And tools are really allowing to do this in a very efficient way. So it's very important if you want to overcome all those challenges of the shortage of talent that is increasing. I mean, we have seen a change in the past years that is quite important. And as you said, I mean, it's not looking that it's going to change in the next coming days, weeks, or months.
Unfortunately, not. No. So it's really a great method to address it. Besides this, another great strategy that you can apply, which may actually sound quite obvious, but is to train your hiring teams. Now, even experienced hiring managers and interviewers may need to level up their hiring skills at one point. Reducing biases is actually a common reason to train hiring teams, but you can also coach them on interview questions that they can ask, or on how to develop a real connection with candidates. So to give a few examples on how to train your hiring teams is, for example, to instruct interviewers on how to prepare for their interviews. You could also consider to give them a checklist that can be really helpful, but also to educate them on how biases work. For example, you can encourage your employees to actually do tests. There are many tests out there, such as the Harvard Implicit Association test, that can help them to identify their hidden biases. So this is really something that you can consider to apply. Should this be something that you're challenged with? Besides, you can also decide to arrange mock interviews from time to time. And this is really useful for unexperienced interviewers, especially in the beginning. But you can also use it to train your recruiters on how to interview better. And besides, another great solution is to provide recruiting resources on a regular basis, such as interesting articles or videos, or even hiring advice. And you could set expectations within your team of the amount of time they'll need to read, for example, and you can send an article every month, for example. That's also something that can be quite helpful. And finally, equip your current employees for an evolving environment. Now, human resources, such as any other parts of the business, are actually facing a looming upskilling imperative. And according to a World Economic Forum report, we've seen that the proportion of core skills required to perform a job well will shift between 42% between the years 2018 and 2022. So it's really important for HR executives to equip their current employees for an evolving environment. So try to set clear goals for learning initiatives and training programs. And like this, HR managers can really leverage from new technologies to create the maximum of business impact.
Insightful.
I hope so. All right. And the third method, which we already addressed a little bit earlier, is to expand your strategy. While it might be good to advertise on a job board that you know already that brings good candidates, if you leave it just like that, it's really a missed opportunity to create a truly powerful hiring process. So try to really diversify your recruiting toolbox by, for example, using social media to post your jobs or promote your company. but also try to showcase your culture, your benefits, and employee stories, as mentioned earlier, on your career site, for example, to encourage more and more applicants. And finally, also you could consider to attend job fairs if you're not doing so, or even to host your own recruiting events whenever this is possible. And the final point is to enhance your employee referral program, which is something that we see is really, really powerful.
But not used enough, huh?
But not used enough.
Still, a lot
Correct.
of companies have to embrace, a referral program internally. I mean, it's so impactful on organization. I mean, you have people that are working already in your organization. They have plenty of people they know that might be interested or interesting for the job. I mean, surely, there's something to be done in between, and this is a referral program. And it doesn't always have to be against the money, but people have to be conscious that this really can bring an impact on your organization and the speed of the recruitment process, because an employee will never recommend you someone they know he will not be doing a good enough job. Obviously, at the end, it's the recruiter that should decide. But it's so important, and use the right tools to be able to do and monitor this. But we encourage a lot about this.
Yes.
And recruitment teams to use these programs.
Yes, it's definitely something to worthwhile to leverage from, as it's really powerful. What we've seen in the past as well already.
Yeah, it's one additional channel to convert more candidates and potentially hire them faster. I mean, surely to be efficient nowadays, you really have to use all the tools that are out there to make sure that you currently brand your new company, you attract the right candidates, you source them, you use your talent pool, you use your referral program, and there you will have the right strategy, and there you are becoming the most effective at recruiting, and you hire the best people faster.
Indeed. Thank you. All right, so we actually came to our last method already, and our final method is to invest in an ATS. So many of you have maybe already done it. As technology is really changing the world as we know it, and that's also the way that we hire is changing every day. And an ATS can really help you to streamline your hiring process by making it possible for your hiring teams to collaborate and keep all candidate data in one place. Now, as mentioned, there are many ATS out there, but a good one has actually several functionalities. And just to name a few, some features or functionalities that are really important are reporting capabilities, as they can help you to extract useful insight from your past processes and to improve your future ones. But also scheduling tools and calendar integrations are really helpful, as like this you can schedule phone screens and interviews in a fast way and minimize at the same time back and forth communications. Also, many ATS have built-in templates that can help you, for example, when posting job ads or when you need to send out emails fast to candidates without writing a text from scratch every time. But also interview scorecards are very useful, especially if you want to make the shift towards more structured interviews. And this really lessens the chance of affecting biases in your hiring decisions, as mentioned earlier. Now, these are some of the features. However, there are some solutions out there that even offer more advanced integrations, such as assessments. For example, at Skill, we offer an integrated personality test that really can help you to evaluate candidates more objectively. But we also offer a video interview tool, for example, that will help you to gain deeper insight in the candidate beforehand, and to really help you to make better decisions with whom you should move forward without losing too much time with applicants and have less face-to-face interviews.
The more qualitative ones.
Exactly. But also, there are already some ATS out there, as we do as well, that have artificial intelligence capabilities. Now, artificial intelligence, if this is included in your ATS, it really can help you to identify the most qualified candidates faster, as mentioned, speeding up the recruiting process, but also help you to really reduce the cost per hire, as it can help you to automate repetitive and time-consuming tasks. Now here at Skilled, we for instance, we employ artificial intelligence in different parts of the recruiting process through tools like the automated pre-screening and ranking of applicants. And we have some AI-based features that are currently in development that will be released shortly, such as also a tool that will help recruiters to write better job descriptions by pointing out contradictions and ambiguities, for example. And coming back to the job descriptions in the beginning, like this, they will be way more clear and more welcoming to candidates.
Thank you, Josephine. Interesting. Thanks for sharing all those solutions. I would like to make one statement, and this is really something that is important because, as you all know, the recruitment world, the recruitment world, and the HR world is in constant evolution. And I think the question that recruitment teams have to ask themselves is, if you have bought even an ATS that looked good like 15, 10, or 5 years ago, if you haven't seen these two evolved in the last the last 5, 6, 7 years, then that you might have a problem, because obviously that the pace of the development and innovation and all that is going on in this world, if the companies are not providing the right amount of innovation, there obviously you're falling behind into what recruitment can be for you. Another fact is that I've heard Josephine mentioning Excel. I mean, Excel nowadays is like you using the post to actually do your daily business versus someone that is using a mailbox. I mean, surely this is first of all not only possible to manage applicants efficiently, because obviously you cannot track if they have been in your database for such amount of time. It slows down your process. You have a lot of manual and repetitive tasks. So we really discourage that. And this is really nothing to do with skill. I mean, we're talking about everything. Try to invest in the right technology to be armed in the best way to be tackling nowadays challenge. So obviously, we hope that today's insight will help you power up your hiring and reach your hiring goals for 2020. If you don't have all the right methodology, I mean, watch this webinar again, think about it, make your strategy, make your plan, and do it in 2020. We have given a lot of tips, we have given a lot of examples, and we have given a lot of solutions. You don't have to invest in all of them. I mean, try to divide your year by quarter or half a year, and try to solve challenges one by one. And there, I'm sure you will become more efficient and possibly better recruitment teams in terms of the strategy you have to propose to tackle all those challenges.
Exactly.
So I guess we will answer a couple of questions. I've seen questions coming in, so let's open up. Let me read a bit and see exactly what I have. The first question: how do you determine which talent technology solution are the right fit for your organization?
All right.
Maybe this is something that you can tell us a bit more about.
Yes. Well, this is going to be a little bit different for every company, of course. But what I can say is that the best is to start at a very basic level. So every organization needs an ATS, an onboarding system, and some type of recruitment marketing platform. Those are really the three systems that must be in place to make sure that you have a way of engaging, but also tracking and managing your talent. So this is really what I would say the basic tech stack that you need to have. And after that, it's important to look what you need to support your needs. Mm-hmm. So whether it's automation, enhancing your communication, or even providing a stronger branding or sourcing or assessing your candidates. So what we see is that most organizations quite often have already screening and assessment solutions. And then there are obviously a lot of sourcing and branding solutions out there. There are companies that pull together all of these different solutions into one unified technology, as we do over here at Skilled. But it's really to look at your company and the needs that you have, and based on that, you can really make a decision on what's the best fit for your organization.
Yeah, and if I can add something, I mean, two things. If you have doubts, do research online. Try to see, the best practices out there and figure things out. If, for example, your customers are skilled, don't hesitate to reach out to the customer success team. I mean, they are the one that can, help you set up, the best and most efficient processes. Ask them questions. They are trained to be able to answer those type of questions. So. That's always the right thing to do, but the internet is an amazing source of information. Typically, try to type best career page or best branding pages in the world. You will see, the Airbnbs of this world, and what amazing work they are doing in terms of branding. I mean, surely, okay, you're not competing directly with Airbnb because this is one example, but if you're competing with organizations that are extremely efficient at, building efficient branding, and when a candidate gets in front of extremely well-designed page, career page, explaining, videoing, what the company is doing compared to an organization that is only listing the job, surely in 2020, because obviously now it's going to be a bit short to solve it in 2019, yes. That's something that you need to work on. And not only, I mean, there's plenty of things, as I mentioned, referral, talent pool, all of this is something that you should be overcoming as challenges. Anyway, let me answer read another couple of questions. So another one that came in: what advice can you share with talent acquisition leaders who are looking ahead of 2020?
All right, I guess
the ones that already forgot about their Christmas luncheon, already willing to go to 2020.
Exactly, I guess you inspired them to think ahead already.
Well, I was the one only doing the moderating. I mean, you were the one inspiring them and giving them the content.
All right.
The credits to you.
Thanks. All right. So, what advice can I share for 2020? So when it comes, there's of course plenty of advice, and I've shared already quite a lot. But when it comes to making your talent acquisition program more manageable and simplifying your technology stack, try to really think about which providers are truly partners and are able to support you in many different ways. That's really something that is that's important. But also try to think about what skills you need to make your talent acquisition function successful. Whether it's digital expertise, data scientists, or more employer branding services. Try to focus on how you can either bring those onto your team or find an outside provider that you can partner up with. And the final piece of advice that I could give is to think about embracing some of the areas that haven't been traditionally been a part of your talent acquisition function. For example, try to take ownership and be a champion for them. Employer branding, again, is an example, and we've seen a lot of talent acquisition leaders out there and professionals that have enhanced, that really have embraced actually branding and have become experts in that area. But data analytics is another one, for example. So by advocating on solutions in these specialized areas, talent acquisition leaders can really move forward their program and step ahead of the competition.
Great. I like the comment about partnership. It is. I mean, when you work with people, you should think about the partnership. It's not like one way thing. It's really like challenge your providers. To show you their roadmap, what they have in the pipe, what they are looking to invest. Don't try doing that with Excel. I guess they will not answer. No, I mean joke apart. I mean it has to be. in this world, you have plenty of partners that can be transparent, that can share more information with you. And, you know, it is, you know, what you're working on a daily basis. So surely this is something that is more than acceptable for the partner to show you what they will be investing in and what they will be delivering in the future. And as I said, if, you know, they haven't delivered anything in the past 5-10 years, then I'm pretty sure you have a problem. So Josephine, we are coming to an end. I would like to thank you a million times for giving us this great content today. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I personally learned a lot of things. If you have any additional questions, you know, feel free to send us an email or contact us. You know, we're pretty easy to find online, pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, connect with us, you know, and see the content that we are publishing. To finish, I would like, you know, to wish everyone a wonderful Christmas and the best possible New Year ahead of 2020 that, you know, is looking great and we're happy to tackle as well. We hope to see you again in our next webinar. Have a great day and obviously